did something wrong. Let me end this. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me.
Get ready for a powerhouse of inspiration. Principal Baruti Kafele. A highly regarded educator and a transformational leader, Principal Kafele has spent over 20 years in New Jersey's urban schools, making a lasting impact as both a master teacher and a turnaround principal. Under his leadership, the mighty Newark Tech transformed from a low-performing school to one of America's best, as recognized by U.S. News and World Report 3 times. A recipient of the prestigious Milken Educator Award, Principal Kafele is one of the most sought-after voices in school leadership and equity. He's delivered over 3,000 keynotes, workshops, and seminars across the nation, authored 13 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers, and continues to empower leaders through his live-streamed AP and New Principals Academy. Please join us in welcoming the extraordinary Principal Baruti Kafele.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 262 of the AP and New Principals Academy. And I might add, welcome to the 5th anniversary of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got checking in this morning. We got Ronald Pugh out in Cedar Hill, Texas. Michael Benton's in Cincinnati, Ohio. Rod Laws, Harambe Hotep out there in Greenville, North Carolina. We got Yolanda McKinney in the building. AP Patrick Lawrence, Arlette Johnson, Marsha, and I should say AP Patrick Lawrence and Arlette Johnson in Connecticut, Marsha Poe in San Diego, Dot McKeever Jeter, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter in Calumet City, Illinois. Dr. Sheikah Houston's in the building, South Carolina. And I might add, while I got her here, Create and Educate. They just ended. 10:30 every Saturday morning, Facebook Live, Eastern Time. They're preceded by Sean Hurt, Turnaround Principal at 10 o'clock, Facebook Live. Yours truly, 10:55. And then on Sunday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 Central, PDP Podcast, Josh Tovar, Marty Moreno, Dr. Marty Moreno, tune us all in. Man, I don't know where you're going to get anything like this, man. 4, fantastic 4, PD every weekend, without fail. Here we go. We got Jacqueline Harriet up there in Nova Scotia. Good to see you, Jacqueline. Nicole Cornelius is in the building. Life with Amita Williams is in the building. Ronald Pugh, I said already. David Bell, Benton Harbor, Michigan. Dr. Sonia A. Matthew is in the building. She was on with me with a couple other guests about a month ago. If you missed it, go check it out. It was powerful. Rashad Davis is out in the 702, Vegas. Robin Snowden is in Fresno, California, Hotep. Constance Sherrod is in the building, Pearl, Mississippi. Where we at? Dr. Almesia Watkins is in the building. Rodney Richardson, Hampton, Virginia is in the building. Lysandra Brackens, North Carolina. John Herricks, Denton, Texas. I'm gonna mess this up, man, but I'm gonna try. Alicia, yeah, I got that right. Alicia Scott, just spelled it a little different, little creativity. Olive Branch, Mississippi. Stacy Joy, LA, Los Angeles, California, in the building. Dr. Principal Tammy Taylor is in the building. The other half of Create and Educate, again, every Saturday morning, 10:30 Eastern Time, Facebook Live. I think they stream to YouTube as well. Golfar WT is in the building in Atlanta. Where we at? Grace Castaneda is in the building. She's somewhere in Texas. She gets around. We got the queen of the castle. She's here. Kimberly Broughton Kafele in the building. Sean Hurt, Turnaround Principal, is here. Detroit, Michigan. We got the good doctor, man. The good doctor, Dr. Anna L. Austin, man. I'm going to be, Doc, stay on, man, because I'm going to be talking about you, right? I got to get to my announcements, so just stay right there. Jocelyn Nelson, Orlando, and Dr. Austin. Tell your mom I said hello. I didn't see her this time. Jocelyn Nelson is in Orlando. Whole lot of fire emojis. I appreciate that. You on fire. I'm on fire too, man. You're going to feel it in a little while. Adrian Young, Newport News, Virginia. I'm going to be down in Newport News, man. It's on my calendar. It's on my schedule. I don't know when, where. I just know that we signed that contract, right? So I will be in Newport News. Where we at? Yeah, Dr. Austin, 262 weeks is wild. But you know what's really wild? That is 262 consecutive, right? That's wild, right? We got Principal Kimberly May in the building. I'm getting ready to. We could take another minute. We got Vic Nixon, Dallas, in the building. Where we at? We got Melissa Jones Chunu, Tulsa, in the building. Tulsa, Oklahoma. September Devon Vance Daniels is in the building. The boss educator. I was trying to think of something clever to say, LaQuanta, and it wouldn't come out. The boss educator's in the building. Sometimes you try to be clever and you make yourself look foolish, right? So, yeah, Dr. LaQuanta Nelson in the building, man. Y'all, she been on here like twice. She's gonna be on a third too. But check her out. Go to her page, Boss Educator, and see her work. And then once you see her work, watch her podcast on Sundays. I forget the time, but just go to the page and then bring her to your school. And I promise you, you'll thank me later, right? Where we at? My man, Kendrick Claxton, I see you, sir. Glad you're here. You know, I need to get started, y'all. Let me see if I can find somebody from Jersey in here to close it out, man. I'm seeing all these states. I don't see Jersey. Where's Jersey? Come on, man. Where's Jersey? I don't see Jersey. All right, Jersey in here. A lot of people they don't announce that they're on because I'm in 49 states. Wyoming hasn't brought me out yet. And people say to me, man, I watch every Saturday. I said, what's your name? And I don't recognize it. And they say, I'm gonna know the names because I read them every week, right? But they say, I don't leave comments. Oh, okay. Okay, I got you. Let me end it with Marcus Jackson, man. I see you, the good doctor. Dr. Marcus Jackson is in the building doing that residency with me every last Saturday of the month. So if you missed last Saturday, which was the last Saturday of April, go back to YouTube and check it out. It was on fire. Hey, y'all, let's get started. Let me say formally now to everybody, good morning, greetings. Welcome to week 262 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Also celebrating our 5th anniversary. That means next Saturday, I'm in year 6. Before I go give that question to you, it's really unbelievable because 5 years ago today, I sat in this chair at this table, not this computer. This is a little newer, but it was a Mac. And I started something that was just an 18-week project. That's all it was. Just first Saturday in May to the last Saturday in August. And then nice talking to y'all. You know, I was going solo every week. But we were averaging what we're still averaging across the platforms, about 10,000 people every week between the live and the video views during the week. So I said, why would I leave this if that many people see fit, as they were saying in the Baptist church, see it not robbery, right, to tune in. So I kept it going. And here we are. And then I started bringing guests, I might add, in year 2. Because I said, okay, I did 52 consecutive weeks of solo. Let me start bringing in guests. And that's what we did. But I missed them solos. So now, every first Saturday, I'm solo. I think in July, I got 2 solos, right? But we'll talk more about that later. But anyway, my question, as always, hey, y'all, how you feel? How you feel? Right? I feel good, but there's so much going on in the world, right? There really is. There's so much going on. I'm not going to get political on this one. I just want to say, please go to my Facebook page and look at the article that I just posted about an hour or 2 ago regarding the desegregation in a school district in Louisiana, right? Desegregation, where the I don't even want to say the name, where the current administration officials deemed that desegregation in that particular school district in Louisiana was historically wrong. So they overturned the desegregation in that district and going back to segregation. So I'm not going to get, go to my page and read the article, or just Google it and it'll come up, because all the news outlets are covering the story. So I'm gonna leave that there because I want to keep it upbeat and positive. My question now: how you feeling? Sean Hurt said he's feeling great. How y'all feel, man? Despite whatever's going on in the world, whatever I'm wrestling with internally, I say it every Saturday, and I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm still gonna find a way to get back where I need to be, right? Because I have audiences to speak to, right? I have this academy that I know definitively, because I've been told over 1,000 times that I have people that rely upon this Saturday Academy. Matter of fact, the whole Fantastic Four. So I got to bring my best me every Saturday, but I also have to prepare, right, up to a very high standard, and just getting ready to present on a Saturday, whether it be with guests or whether it be solo. So it matters. Marcus just said, man, I remember we talked about this and we discussed this in our think tank, and how you hated speaking virtually, and here you are. That's right. We had that conversation. I didn't like virtual. I still don't like virtual, but I love my Saturday Academy, man. So again, I ask that question every week just to remind you all that you're in leadership. So we're human beings, and we have real human emotions. I understand that. But you got people on the other side who are dependent upon your best. So just never lose sight of that, right? You got staff, you got students, you got parents, you got community. And quite frankly, you got a district that's relying on you to bring your best. Cynthia, Mama J. Johnson, I'm horrible with text messaging. I know I told you in the reply, and then I still didn't get back to you. So if you could do me a favor, send me an email to principalkafele@gmail.com. That's the way I stay organized. I just can't stay organized with text messaging. Send me that so I can give you that date so we can get that recording in. principalkafele@gmail.com. That's for Dr. Cynthia Mama J. Johnson. And then we can nail that date down. All right, folks. So let's go, man. I got so much to discuss today. I'm hoping y'all carved out some time and you can hang out with me for a while. Because I got a lot, man. I got a lot. I got more than I've probably ever had when I went during my solo days. So let's go. First and foremost, continued thoughts and prayers to all the fam out there that may have been impacted by the California wildfires. Someone might say, man, that was a long time ago. You still talking about that? Yeah, because I doubt they got them homes back, right? They somewhere temporary, hotels, motels. Some people might be homeless. Right. So I just don't want to lose sight of them. At some point, I will stop saying that on a regular basis, but not right now. That devastation, just to look at that on the news, every day, and just whole communities gone. Right. So I just want to say continued thoughts and prayers to everybody impacted, and particularly anybody that was fam of this academy that was impacted by that, either directly or indirectly. You think about, like I don't think a day, and I've never shared this with my family. I know they're gonna hear this. I don't think that I've ever shared, with anybody, that not a day in my life, not a day, that I don't think about the possibility of a fire in my house. Right? It crosses my mind literally every day. Like I'm always saying, I hope we're doing the right things, like taking all the necessary precautions, right? That we prevent that, because you lose it all. So then to think about whole communities, right? Whole blocks, whole neighborhoods gone, stays with me, right? So, so that's why I do that. Let's go, y'all. Shout out. Last week, I forgot to shout out Manhattan Middle School in Montana, Manhattan, Montana, not Manhattan, New York City, but Manhattan, Montana. Spent a full day there with Principal Mary Fulp, who's been on here. And just shout out to her and her entire leadership team and entire school community. Just was a great day. That was 2 weeks ago, but I forgot to say it last week because I got caught up into something else, and I skipped over my shout outs. Shout out to my mentees up in Schenectady, New York. I don't know if they'd want me to say their names or not, so I won't. But I got 3 principal mentees in Schenectady, New York. That's in the Albany area, capital district, as they call it. And I'm just loving the time that I'm spending doing this one-on-one coaching with all three of them. I'm just loving it, right? So shout out to them. It's probably the most important work that I do and the most important work that I've ever done. As much as I love a keynote with thousands in an audience, or as much as I love doing the in-service, the workshops, the presentations and seminars, that one-to-one coaching, ain't nothing better than that, nothing more significant than that. So, shout out to my mentee from yesterday specifically. I don't know if she wants me to say her name. I mean, she probably does. I'm sure she's on, and she's probably saying, "You can say my name." But we had a phenomenal day yesterday. You figure like 8 to 4, and you just talking leadership all day long, just you and that principal. That's the epitome of the work. Right. So let's go. Shout out to them, and shout out to MBK, My Brother's Keeper, New York. My Brother's Keeper, New York. Oh man. Under the leadership of Dr. Anna L. Austin, who also has been on this platform. That MBK, New York, unmatched anywhere in the United States. All them young men, I don't know how many was in that room. You just got to figure a big giant space with a bunch of young men, black and brown, wearing suits and blazers, right? And I train. Y'all got to hear this, man. I told you I got a lot to talk about today. I see you, Principal Falk. Glad you're here. Listen, y'all. Every November, they call them fellows, right? The MBK seniors, and they have to do a speech about their experience. But a lot of them never done a speech in their lives. So I train them all over New York State and city virtually for 180 minutes, two sessions of 90 minutes on the art of public speaking, the science of public speaking. And then we just talk life. And I went into the room because I was talking to some other principals, so I didn't hear the beginning of a particular segment. So I walk into the room. Oh, he said 1,100 people were there and 500 students. Man, it was packed, y'all. So I walk into the room and I'm listening to these young men giving these short speeches. This is on top of the ones they had to do in February. And as I'm sitting there, I'm saying, man, that sounds like my style, like what I teach, but I didn't know. So one after another, and they giving these short speeches. I'm like, man, that sounds like what I do. So then finally, when it was my turn to speak, Dr. Austin said to the audience, and did you hear the young men that spoke? Principal Kafele trained them. I said, bam, there it is. See, when you teach and the student receives, you know your work through the person. Y'all ain't hear that. You missed that. It went like this. Let me get that to you again. When you teach somebody and they receive what you teach, when they go on and live it or share it or spread it, you're going to see you in it. It's just like, as I'm going to talk about Jawanza Kunjufu in a few minutes, Jawanza Kunjufu all up in me, right? Because I read so many of his books. I was getting ready to show y'all, but I'm getting to that in a minute. Right. So, and it was during my formative years. I'm 23 reading Kunjufu. That's, some of the first books I ever read in my life. But we'll get to that. My point is, Dr. Austin, as I told you in person, what an event that you put on. And just seeing all these folks, the adults that I haven't every year that I haven't seen in a long time, and we all in the same place. I mean, I saw Dr. Shango Blake, Dr. Nairi Dixon, all these people that I know from the past, worked with in the past and all that. And then to have the opportunity to reconnect, man. MBK fam, New York, unmatched. It's just top shelf. And that's of the work of Dr. Anna L. Austin, who's the state assistant commissioner of education in New York State. And he heads up the My Brother's Keeper program. Good stuff. Let me keep going, y'all. Welcome to the first timers. And I'm skipping my notes like I did last week. I want to just reinforce again, this is the 5th anniversary, right? 5th anniversary. But it's another anniversary. If you've been following me on Facebook, it's the 10th anniversary of my heart attack, not today, but on May 1st. That's the 10th anniversary of the heart attack on stage at the University of Miami, giving a keynote address with a mic in my hand, and bam. But guess what, y'all? I finished that speech, baby. That heart attack came 20 minutes in. I still got 40 minutes to go. I finished that speech. How you finish a speech with a heart attack? Because I didn't know what it was. So therefore, I didn't panic. I just kept going. It was excruciatingly painful, among other things, which I'm not going to get into because I don't want to take all that time. But I finished that thing. But I found myself in the hospital. They put me under that knife and gave me that stent in my main artery. It was clogged 100%. And I changed my lifestyle. My mother, I was talking to my mother. I had a 3-hour drive yesterday. I talked to my mother. She saw the picture because if someone snapped a picture of me finishing the sound check, and I'm literally walking off the stage, but this is before the heart attacks. I don't know what's getting ready to happen to me, right? But my mother said, you were a bit much larger back then. I was like, yeah. I say, you only got to give me one of these things, man. Right. So, we changed the diet, infuse an exercise regimen, even changed mentally, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so my mother said, you were much bigger back then. Yeah, we can't carry that weight and live. Since I'm on it, and I'm going solo today, y'all got to hang with me. I got things on my mind, so I got to say this to you. I see a lot of big people in the world, y'all. And I be wanting to say, I know I said that ironically, but I did it deliberately. I be wanting to say, yeah, I can fix that. I don't want to. I be wanting to say to the person, yo, man, you got to bring it down. Or I might see them like get their plate somewhere, like, like my plate like this, their plate like damn, it's like you got 5 plates, right? And I be wanting to say, yo, you gotta fall back. That's not healthy. You can't live like that. And then I'll say to my wife, I need to say something. And my wife, y'all know what my wife will say. Mind your business, right? But sometimes I feel like it's my place because I've been there. Like I am a heart attack victim and survivor, right? I feel like it's my place to say, yo, you don't have to be me. All I had was the main artery clog, which is actually a bad thing. 60% of the people who have it don't live, right? But there are other, all them triple, quadruple bypasses and all that kind of stuff. Hey, y'all, watch your diet. If you walking around here, if you walking from here to the corner and you huffing and puffing, then you got work to do. If you walk up the stairs in your home, but when you get to the top step, you huffing and puffing, or if you stop in like midway and you like holding on to the banister, and you working up the energy to get to the next to the plateau, you have work to do. I'm gonna get my camera. This ain't even in my notes, man. You got work to do. So be bold, somebody. Drop it in the chat. You talking to me. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Be bold. If folks don't know you anyway, right? If you're from somewhere in Oshkosh, right? So put it in the chat. I'm talking to you. I saw my man, principal of my former school, Janabu Williams, earlier, but I don't know where it is. Oh, yeah, here he is. Said, "Good day, principal." So get his brother a hand clap of emojis. He just got his doctorate, right? This week, I think it was. Yeah, he just defended his dissertation. So he Dr. Janabu Williams. He's not my successor. There was another principal before he got there. Two principals before he got there. I left in 2011, so he's there now in 2025. Started last year in 2024 as the principal, and then he was the AP there before that. But drop him some emojis. He's family here. He's been a guest on here. Dr. Janabu C. Williams. He successfully defended his dissertation on the recruitment, retention, training of Black male educators. Right. So give him some emojis, y'all. That's a lot of work. And I'm gonna let y'all in on something a little bit later. I can't tell you right now. All right, let's go. About something I'm trying to get done. Where we at? I'm getting ready to get to my content, y'all. Bear with me. The School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele, July 15 and 16. in Raleigh. If you haven't registered yet, come on, y'all. Register. I want to see you in Raleigh. We're going to talk instructional leadership for 2 days. 9 to 4 both days, but you join me for lunch, we talk some leadership. You want to, we're going to be in the same space in the evening if you're staying overnight for day 2, so we can sit out in the lobby and talk some more leadership informally, because you might have some informal questions you have that you don't want to raise in the formal session. So we sit out there in the chairs in the lobby, and we chop it up out there. That's what it's about, right? So come and join me. Go to principalkafele.com, scroll down, click the link. You'll see it. It says Instructional Leadership Institute, because that's our focus. And click the link. Join me. You get this when you arrive. My new joint. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? So you get a copy. So make sure that you register, and I'll see you there. And since I'm holding it up, if you don't have a copy yet, what are you waiting for? Everybody that reaches out to me to tell me they read this, they're like, "Oh my God." Young man wrote me on Twitter the other day, and he's a popular guy. I'm gonna get him on here as well, but I haven't yet. My waiting list is 5 years long, y'all. It's 5 years long. That's how long it is, right? It's a popular platform. So he said, "Man, this book, whew." I'm like, "Yeah." Hey, y'all, if you don't have it, get yourself a copy. Just go to Amazon right now. Hit that other tab on your Chrome or your Safari or your phone or your tablet. Go ahead and order. Keep me on. Go ahead and order. Get it over with. They'll get it to you by Monday, right? ASCD.org or Amazon, or I'll whisper this one, Barnes and Noble. I don't shout them out, man, because they won't put my books on their shelves. They'll only sell them online. So, I don't shout them out, man, later for them, right? So I should be able to walk into a Barnes and Noble's bookstore and see my books in the education section. I should. Right, but that's another story. Let me step away from that. Here we go. All right, I'm in my content now. I'm doing a monologue, but I'm also doing a tribute. So let me do my tribute. And by the way, text somebody, tag somebody, share, hit the share button, hit the repost button, the retweet button, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button in this algorithm world. Let them know we here. Someone that I call a mentor from afar. I'm not going to say that I had a close personal relationship with this person, but I did know him, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. But I knew him through his work for years before I met him. But I learned last week that he made his transition at the age of 71. He was an author of over 60 books. So he's a prolific writer. He was an educator, starting with classroom teacher, and then eventually he got into the consulting space. But he's most known for his writings and his research. So when I was making my transition from trying to figure out life, I was reading African American history. This is in '84. And I went to Liberation Bookstore in Harlem, New York City, on Malcolm X Boulevard, which is formerly known as Lenox Avenue. And I was getting some book dealing with African American history. I don't know what book it was, but this book was sitting. Let me put it this side. This book was sitting on the shelf. This is the actual book. It was sitting on the shelf it was sitting in a rack. That's what it was. It was a tall rack. In my mind, I was nowhere near thinking about becoming a teacher. Nowhere near. I'm a marketing major, so that's what my mind is. But I'm studying African American history. So I see this book, Developing Positive Self-Images and Discipline in Black Children, written by Jawanza Kunjufu, and something moved me to buy it, even though I had no interest in education. I was nowhere near being a father. I didn't become a father until 1990. So this was in 1984. But something moved me to buy this book, and I got into it in '84. So I'm still in undergrad school. I'm reading all this history, but then I'm going to Liberation Bookstore in Harlem literally every Saturday. My mother's giving me money. I'm buying books every week. My mother's so elated. Oh my God, my son's finally reading. She had no problem giving me all this money to buy all these books, right? So then I go a year later, this book by Jawanza Kunjufu, Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. Somebody better hit that share button. You better hit that retweet button. You better tag somebody. You better text somebody, because it's a lot of young educators, particularly the ones I ask, the African-American young educators who I ask them, what do you know about Jawanza Kunjufu? And they say to me, huh? Right? Like, who's that? You better hit somebody up and let them know. You can't teach Black children, particularly Black boys, at the highest level, and you've never studied the godfather of Black boys, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. So he writes this book, Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, Volume 1. It's a thin book. And I'm like, it's thin, but it's like powerful. So then next thing I know, he writes Volume 2. Now I'm still in undergrad school. I ain't thinking about becoming a teacher, but I'm getting into his writing. So I'm going to Liberation every week. Then the next year, bam, he writes Volume 3, Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, Volume 3. But by the time this one comes out, I'm flirting with the possibility of becoming a teacher because I'm reading all the history. But this man, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu's work is saying to me, I need to take this knowledge of this history that I have into the classroom because this is what he's talking about in part. Then years later, this fast forward, 1995, he writes Volume 4, right? Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. But in between all that, he writes Motivating and Preparing Black Youth to Work. I'm not going to show you all 60. Then he writes Lessons from History, A Celebration in Blackness, elementary edition. And then he wrote the secondary edition. My name's on it because I use this as a standard text when I was a 5th grade teacher. Was there a curriculum to support it? No. So I closed my door and I did what I had to do. And I taught out of this book. This was like my teacher's manual. It was like my student book at the same time. Forgive me, world, but I'm making photocopies of pages and my kids are learning out of this Jawanza Kunjufu book. Oh, what grade were they? 5th graders. That's the grade I taught. 5th graders. Then he goes on and writes, To Be Popular or Smart, the Black Peer Group. Oh, man. No, and see, I could actually go in depth and give you like a detailed analysis of each of these books, but I'm not going. I got too much on my agenda to be doing that. Then he goes, this is the one that really got me. A Talk with Jawanza, Critical Issues in Educating African-American Youth. This is a Q&A book. And there's a chapter in here where he's talking to administrators. Now, I'm a teacher at the time. He's talking to administrators, and that set something off in me, reading that particular chapter. So A Talk with Jawanza Q&A book where it's teachers and administrators asking him questions, and parents as well. Then he goes on and writes, check this out, y'all. Black students, middle-class teachers, right? Again, Black students, middle-class teachers. And this is a thicker book than what he typically would write because he had a lot to say about that, right? Now, listen, y'all. I know some of y'all like, oh my God, I need these books. They're all on Amazon. They've been hiding in plain sight. Then he went on and wrote, Keeping Black Boys Out of Special Ed. I know some of y'all like, damn, I didn't know these books were out here. Yeah. Listen. Let me see if he got that copyright date in here. 2005. This book been around for 20 years. So somebody on here right now, you like, man, I ain't know. Yeah, that's why I'm telling you. That's why I'm saying, look, I got a lot to talk about today. Don't be coming on here today giving me like 5 minutes and then you off to do whatever you do. Give me your time today. And I promise you, God going to use me to bless you today. I promise you that. Give me your time today. Give me your time and your talent. And I promise you, God is going to use me to bless your leadership. I promise you. Just staying with me. Just stay here with me. Keeping Black Boys Out of Special Education. Tell me your school don't need this book. Go ahead. Write it in the chat. We don't need that. Go ahead. I dare you. Right? So get your hands on it. But then he went on and wrote, check this out, Raising Black Boys. See, Dr. Kunjufu was the guru. He was the one that was writing, that was doing the research, sharing the research on Black boys before anybody else was doing it. He's the guy. But some of us, we didn't know. Because when you was in that undergrad program and you were in that graduate program, they were telling you, they were having you read research, read textbooks on people that have never worked in the environment that most of y'all work in, with the students that most of you lead. I'm gonna use a slang. I'm hipping you to material that should be in your library. If you, I don't know how well you can see on my camera, but I got like this big space here, right? Because that's where all my Jawanza Kunjufu books sit, right? So, but then check this one out. State of emergency. We must save African American males. He wrote this one in hardcover, hardcover. And it's thicker. I think it's the thickest book he's ever written. But he didn't just write on education. He wrote on Black economics. I mean, he had research with girls. It's so much. 60 books. I just showed you like 13 or 14. 60 books. Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. Here, let me close my tribute to Dr. Kunjufu. In approximately 2009-ish, 10-ish, I was at the National Alliance of Black School Educators conference that I speak at every year, most years. And Jawanza was a staple at NABC. That's what it's the acronym, NABC, National Alliance of Black School Educators. He was a staple. He was the featured speaker, him and Dr. Asa Hilliard, every year. And if you don't know the name Asa Hilliard, that's another one. So I'm walking down the hall one day, the corridor, and I see Dr. Kunjufu coming. And it's like, my mind, I'm younger, a little younger than I am now. It's 2009, it's 10-ish, it's 25 now. So, I'm like, oh my God, there he is, right? So he has like two bags in his hand, work bags, computer bag, probably all his research in the other one. So he got two bags. So I roll up on him and I said, Dr. Kunjufu, I just want to shake your hand. That's it. Because, you don't want to bug people, like when people come to me, I'm like, y'all know me, man. I'm like, I'm going to hug you. I'm going to take a picture. We're going to talk. I'm going to ask you your name, what you do. That's just my style. So that's just nuts. Forget style. That's who I am. So he put the bag in his right hand down and he shook my hand and he said, what's your name? I said, Baruti Kafele. He drops the other bag. And he went like this. I'm gonna reenact it the way it went. He said, Baruti Kafele, just like that. Baruti Kafele. Then he spoke to me. Baruti, I have all your books, and I've been following you for years. And then he took both arms and he gave me a bear hug, like tight, right? And he wouldn't let me go at first. And I said, oh my God. That was like one of the highlights of my life. Someone that you've been reading all these years, and then they tell you, and I've been reading you, because it's not like I said, yeah, and Doc, I'm an author, and I wrote this book, and he could fake the funk. Oh yeah, I got your book. It wasn't one of them kind of things, right? I ain't tell him I was an author. I just said, can I shake your hand? Right? So I'm saying to y'all, man, I had to devote some time. Now, those of you in the New York area, WBLS FM, the producer called me this morning and they want me to come on the air tomorrow. It's 8:00. It's called The Open Line. And I'll be talking about Jawanza tomorrow morning, probably at the top of the broadcast at 8:00. It's a talk show on WBLS, the biggest FM station in New York City. And I'll be talking about Jawanza's life and his, not his life, but just how he impacted mine and education. So if you're not in the New York area, go to WBLS.com and then just click listen live, right? And then you'll hear commercial come on, and then the broadcast will come on. So just WBLS.com. I'll be on it somewhere around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Right. If you're in New York area, just turn your radio. Now, nobody has radios anymore. So all of y'all go to the computer, WBLS.com. Who's got a radio? I ain't had a radio. Well, in the car. Got radio in the car. All right, let's go. Hey, y'all, I'm ready. But you know something? I told y'all I'm solo today, man. Y'all, be with me for a while. I got to do a monologue, man. You know, let's jump into this monologue. I'm going to keep it quick, though. I'm going to keep it quick. Because I got so much content, man. We today, you know, we talking about all my APs growing instructionally under my leadership. That's an important topic. Let me do my monologue. This morning, I sent a text message. I don't know if he's on, but my old boss and my old mentor when I was training to become an administrator, his name is Dr. Kenneth King. And I sent him a text. I said, tune in like 11:15. Because I'm gonna talk about you, right? So we're 11:37 now. He might have said, when's he gonna get to? If he's on. Right. So let me give you this monologue. My monologue is called "What Will Be Your Leadership Legacy?" Right. Let me say that again. Write that down, somebody. What will be your leadership legacy? So I'm not one that would tell somebody or tells people to be fixated on a legacy. That's not what I do. I say do the work and let the work for you, right? It will dictate who you were when you were in leadership. But I'm still going to ask the question, and I do ask the question, what will be your legacy? In this case, your leadership legacy. Why would I go on and ask it anyway, although I said that doesn't need to be fixated in your mind? Because when you talk about legacy, you're therefore talking about the things you are doing now or the things you should be doing now. And those things, if they're beneficial to young people and staff, parents and community, then they will be your legacy. But imagine your leadership is so flawed, so deficient, so non-productive that nobody's benefiting from it. Well, that's your legacy, right? And that's going to be the conversation about you in years gone by if someone wants to talk about you. So I asked the question again, what will be your leadership legacy? So when I was putting this together, I couldn't help but think about my boss, my first supervisor as an administrator, Dr. Kenneth King, here in Jersey, East Orange, New Jersey. I couldn't help but think about him. And I want to share this with you in the context of legacy, and then I'm gonna give you a couple things, and then we're gonna move on to my main topic. Dr. King, I'm not gonna talk about him when he was mentoring me. I want to talk about him when he would come and visit a school. So Dr. King was the assistant superintendent for human resources. Back in those days, they called it personnel, right? But it's human resources. And when he would come to a school, like if things weren't going right, and I don't just mean my school, I mean any school, they would find a way to correct themselves when he was in the building. Matter of fact, and I'm not going to get into specificity because I know it would make people mad, but when folks knew he was approaching their building, that school knew in a matter of seconds. I'll just leave that right there. And I'm sure a lot of you can figure that part out. And that man commanded respect. Now, I want to make a distinction between the word command and demand. With our titles, we can demand respect. You might look a little foolish doing it, but with our titles, we can demand respect. But it's something entirely different when you command respect. That's a different animal. When you command respect, when just your presence alone brings about respect. I got to put you on pause for a hot second. All right, I had to do something real quick. So I'm saying to you, there's got to be something about you that when you are in your building leading, it commands respect, right? Just, I respect my leader because of who my leader is, because of what my leader represents, because of my leader's vision, my leader's mission, right? What my leader is about. I respect that without this person insisting that I do, demanding respect. So, to give you an example of what I mean, he'd walk into that building and command respect. He was, again, the assistant superintendent of human resources. So he was a walking encyclopedia of all things human resources, which is inclusive of health benefits packages, employee contracts, school law. He knew it as if he wrote it. That commanded respect. But he was also a walking encyclopedia of district policy. You can't, under his leadership, you can't go around making emotional decisions about things and policy doesn't support it. And he insisted upon us as leaders that we know policy the way he knew policy. See, so in other words, this man, he commanded he commanded respect, and I bet you every administrator in East Orange, New Jersey, over the years he was there, would agree with my entire sentiment that this man commanded respect probably more than every superintendent that rolled through there. See, he wasn't the superintendent because he didn't want to be. That's the only reason why. He loved his position as assistant of human resources. He could have been superintendent anywhere he wanted to. He could still do it right now at age 80 something. He's that sharp and he's still working, right? Not as assistant soup, he's a consultant. But my point is this, that's his legacy. That's my point. I haven't worked with Dr. King since 2004. 2004 or 2005. But his legacy is cemented in my heart, my soul, my mind. I make a lot of decisions in life, and he knows this. And a lot of times I'll think to myself, what would Dr. King say? Right? See, we're talking legacy. So as it relates to you all, let me say this to you real quick, and then we're going to go to my topic for today. What will be your legacy as a leader? What will be your leadership legacy? Let me give you these 10 quick examples. Will your legacy have anything to do with school turnaround? Will they look at you 5 years from now, 10 years from now and say, that man, that woman was all about young people achieving at high levels, teachers teaching at high levels, and completely led the effort in turning this school around? Will your legacy be school turnaround? Will your legacy be high academic performance? Then what actions are you taking right now to make that your reality? Will your legacy be a focus on staff professional development, meaning that you said as leader, my staff is going to be optimally knowledgeable in those areas relative to their pedagogy and beyond that they must be knowledgeable in? Will that be your pedagogy? Will that be your legacy? Will your legacy be your intense focus on technology? So you understood the significance of technology and you made sure that technology was accessible to your students, that teachers were proficient in the usage of technology in the classroom. Will that be your legacy? Or will your legacy be how you created this climate, this culture within your school that was just so overwhelmingly positive and productive that young people just came to school ready to take their game to the next level because of the culture, the climate, and the culture that you led the effort in molding and shaping? Will that be your legacy? Something special about walking in that building. That's that culture. That's that climate. Or will your legacy be how you were such a team builder? You didn't have a school of isolated individuals working in silos and vacuums in their classroom, but you had this team, man. like Super Bowl winning team, World Series team, NBA Finals team, Stanley Cup in hockey, like this team where we may not necessarily hang together after school or on the weekend, but when we come together in that building, we are one as the fist, as Booker T. Washington said, not separate as the fingers. Maybe that's your legacy. Or would your legacy be that you were just a true leader? A true leader. Or would your legacy be that you are a strong advocate for students? Like everybody talk, man, this leader fights for these kids, advocates for these kids, got their back in their corner. Or would your legacy be that you have created this environment that is so emotionally safe? See, I mean, it's all we're gonna say it's a given in this example that it's physically safe. Like nobody's got to worry about violence against them in terms of peer-to-peer violence. But I want to put that to the side and go to emotional violence, right? Am I emotionally safe in that school? Could maybe your legacy be that you created a school that is so emotionally safe that I can be me, even though I'm not like the majority. I'm just me. I look the way I look. I dress the way I dress. It's really different from everybody else. I wear different shoes or sneakers. My hairstyle's different from everybody else. My clothing, my fingernails, my makeup, my whatever. Everything is so different. My disposition, my demeanor, right? My worldview, my lifestyle. I mean, and we can go on and on. I'm so different. Am I emotionally safe in your school? Is that your legacy, that you created an environment where everybody can be themselves and be safe and be secure and be okay? Lastly, and these are all and ors. I'm not asking you to be all this. Healthy work environment for staff. Maybe your legacy is, I built this environment, man, it's so healthy for staff. Because see, I go into schools, I shouldn't even be telling y'all this, man. It's folks that don't get along, man. It's like beef. It's beef in some schools I go to. They be beefing, right? It's adults that don't get along. But maybe your legacy is you said, I can't work in that environment. Something's got to give or something's got to go. And you were able to create an environment where it is healthy for staff to come to work in. We genuinely like each other. We genuinely care for one another. We genuinely have one another's back. Again, as I close out my monologue, I'm just asking you, what will be your leadership legacy, right? What will be your leadership legacy? What will people say about your leadership when you've moved on? Think about it. It matters. Enough said, y'all. Man, it's 11:49 and I'm just getting to my topic. Bees that way sometime. This is a special day, man. This is the fifth, for those of you that tuned in late, this is the 5th anniversary of the AP and New Principals Academy. I ain't coming on here rushing. Not on the 5th anniversary. This will be the last time, that I'm going long in preliminary. But I had to, I'm in celebratory mode, right? Even if I'm celebrating by myself, but I know I'm not because I see my numbers, in live real time right now. We got 410 people on here, and it's so much more of the people have been in and out. But in terms of who's on right now, real time, so we good. Listen, y'all, let's go to my topic. My topic is, are my APs growing instructionally under my leadership? So who's my primary audience for today? Assistant principals, assistant superintendents, superintendents. Why assistant superintendents and superintendents, Principal Kafele? Because a lot of times we think about that dynamic between principal and assistant principal and lose sight of the fact, but both of these entities work under assistant superintendents and superintendents. So it can't be a thing where superintendent says, oh man, they got to figure this thing out. Or assistant superintendent, oh man, that dynamic between the principal and the AP at that school, they got to figure this thing out. No, that's not the right approach. If you know that there's a bad dynamic between principal and AP, and you're assistant superintendent or superintendent, I'm going to use a slang. That's your job. Yeah, I say yo. I ain't say your. I'm going to say it again. You superintendent or assistant superintendent, and you know that there's a bad dynamic in a school between assistant principal and principal, that's your job. You got to lead the effort in fixing that. Not you sitting up in your office somewhere talking about they got to figure that out. Right? Or you making a phone call to the principal, you got to figure that out. Maybe that principal needs some additional training. Maybe that principal needs not a directive, but a conversation. See, a conversation. Not a micromanage, but a full steam of support. See, that's your job. All right. I've said it a lot of times on this platform. The number one priority of a superintendent outside of the safety of that district is the principal of every school. I did not say the children. I ain't say that. As important as the children are, so you love children all you want, and then you got an ineffective leader in that school, then and you keep that person in that school, or you keep that person ineffective in that school, then that love you express for them children, you lying. You don't love them children because you didn't do what was required to ensure that they had a high performing leader. You running around talking about you love children. I'm talking to superintendents right now. Superintendents, assistant superintendents. So you giving them community speeches, and we love the children of our city. We love them. But you got some deficient principal leading the school. You lying. You don't love them. Unless you putting measures in place to make that principal great. You don't love them kids because you sent them to a weak leader. How and why are you expecting me to soar and I'm functioning under a weak leader? So I'm saying that to say the most important person in the district to the superintendent and the assistant superintendent has got to be the principal of every building. Hey, superintendent, because I know y'all be watching. I ain't mad at you. I'm just keeping it real. That's what I do. I got the mirror up. When the last time y'all had a heart-to-heart, you and the principal? Not some like fear meeting. I'm talking about like you doing some serious training, like I was doing yesterday up in Schenectady, where I'm just loving my conversation with these principals. When the last time you spent some time one-on-one and y'all just chopping it up? And you helping this principal to become better and more effective and phenomenal and extraordinary. That's what I'm talking about. Like maybe y'all have like I don't want you to pull the principal during school hours, but maybe at 4 o'clock y'all just go to the restaurant, man, and you just chop it up, man. But anyway, on my APs growing instructionally under my leadership, y'all always hear me say the most important, the most misunderstood and underutilized position in all of education is the assistant principal. I say it all the time. The most misunderstood and underutilized position in all of education is the assistant principal, right? You know something, y'all? I believe that with every fiber of my being. And I keep going into these schools. And I see these assistant principals talking to me about they do all this discipline. Well, Principal Kafele, but we really have problems. Somebody's got to do it. No. The children are not your problem, though. The problem is the culture that they walk into every day. That's the problem. So my question becomes, is that being addressed? Let me see what she could say here. She could say, I hope a solo session discusses what growing leaders from district level looks like. Many think it's directives. It's not. Yeah, there you go. Love it. We're gonna get deeper in that. Maybe me and you need to come on here and talk about that. Me from my world, and you from yours, Dr. Houston, because you in that space now, in that central office space. So I'm gonna make a note of that. Listen, y'all. Culture is everything. So here's how I structured today's presentation. 3 broad questions. Let me put them on the screen for you. 3 broad questions I got. Number 1, does the climate and culture of my school allow for my APs to be instructional leaders and coaches? That's the first broad question. Broad question number 2, and I'll put it back up for those of you that are taking notes. Do my assistant principals bring an instructional mentality, instructional work ethic, and instructional focus to their leadership? That's number 2. And then broad question number 3, do I bring an instructional mentality, instructional work ethic, and instructional focus to my supervision of my assistant principal? So just to make the distinction in case anybody missed it between those last 2, this one is saying, do my assistant principals bring an instructional mentality, instructional work ethic, instructional focus to their leadership? And the last one says, do I bring an instructional mentality, instructional work ethic, and instructional focus to my supervision of my assistant principals? So let's talk about a few things, y'all. Hit that share button, hit the retweet button, repost, tag somebody, text somebody, hit up them Facebook leadership groups, and hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button, and make sure that you subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel and hit the notifications bell while you're there so you know when I go live every week. Here we go. We're here. 11:57. We're here. Does the climate and culture of my school allow for my APs to be instructional leaders and coaches? You know, that word climate, as I get rolling, as that word climate, it depends on who you ask what it means. You know, it's like equity. Depends on who you ask. Like cultural relevance. Depends on who you ask. Cultural responsibility. Depends on who you ask. Morning circles. Depends on who you ask, right? It's like these ideas take on a life of their own. Right? People kind of internalize it, they infuse it into their own work experiences, life experiences, and then it their own personal definition sort of evolves out of that. So then you got confusion because you got so many people hearing so many different perspectives on so many different things, and it's like, well, which one is the way we're going to go, right? So this word mood, I said, I'm not going to use an intellectual definition for that, for this word climate. I said, I'm just going to call it a one-word definition. Mood. M-O-O-D. The mood of the school. And I'm distinguishing that from culture, which I'll get into definition with that in a few minutes. Mood, climate. The mood of the school. Hey, fam, feel free to drop it in the chat. When folks walk into your school, not your students and staff, but visitors, parents, community, others, what's the mood they're walking into? Right? Like when you talk about mood, that evokes feeling. So what are they feeling when they walk into your school? When they walk into your front office, what's the mood in that front office? When they begin to walk to their destination in the school, what's the mood? When they walk into a classroom, what's the mood? Meaning, what's the climate? So I want to give you these examples. I'm taking my time singing these love songs, baby. And those of you that don't know what that means, because you haven't never heard me speak before, that's just something Luther Vandross used to say when he used to sing when he did his concerts. Before he did the first song, he would tell the audience, "I'm gonna take my time singing these love songs." So I've infused that into my work. So anything that I'm doing, I say I just say I'm taking my time singing these love songs. So I'm taking my time in this presentation. If I wind up with only one person left because I'm taking long, I'm still going to keep going because I'll have it on video. So here we go. Places have collective moods. School is one, but other places that you go to have collective moods, and those moods can in part or totally determine if you're coming back. So you think about a restaurant, to use that as an example. The restaurant could have great food, great service from the waitress or waiter, but it's something about the climate in there that you said, this place is not for me. The mood here is not compatible with who I am. So I'm here today, but I'm never coming back, even though the food was great, the service was great. I don't like the ambiance. I don't like the mood in this place. And I'm not going to get into describing different moods because then I'll be into stuff that I don't need to be into because I want to stay focused, right? Number 2, stores. Stores have moods. And there's certain stores we go into and we feel like we fit in, and there's certain other stores that you might say, it's an element in here that creates a mood that I don't feel comfortable, let alone safe in this environment. So I will go to a different store, maybe in a different part of town, or an arena. An arena has a mood. And I tell you, when you go to an arena, like a basketball arena, if the team is a winning team versus the team is a losing team, the mood is very different between the two realities. They're both arenas. They both have basketball games, right? They both have fans. But depending on how effective, how good that team, one team is versus the other, will dictate the mood of the arena. I don't know if the Knicks play tomorrow or Monday. I think it's tomorrow. That place, the mood in there is going to be so electric, right? Because the Knicks are in the second round. A gym. Sometimes when I go to the gym, I try to get there early enough when it's not crowded, because when it gets crowded, sometimes the mood ain't right. And when I say mood, for me personally, the N word is flying around the gym too much for me. And I can't enjoy myself in there because I'm not good with being in spaces of the N word. So I got to get out of there or get there early enough before the younger heads come in there and then they start throwing the N word all over the friggin' locker room and the gym, right? The mood. So if not, then I won't even go there. I'll walk the streets outside, right? A theater, mood. Your home, man. And people talk about this, right? When your home is not your place of peace, right? When your home is not your place of peace, the mood is not right, then then your home is not the place that you can take it down. The mood matters. Your place of employment, the mood. But here's where we are: your school and your classrooms, your leaders. Why are you expecting your students to aspire to want to achieve at the highest levels when the mood of the classroom is off-center? When the mood of the classroom is inconducive to them having a willingness to soar. You have to, so as leader, going back to my whole theme of does the climate and culture of my school allow for my APs to be instructional leaders? Well, if the mood of that building is not conducive or compatible to youngsters having a willingness to soar, teachers have a willingness to be great at what they do, then that I'm just going to talk about the climate, not the culture yet. Then that climate is probably not going to allow you to be the instructional leader that you need to be. That climate is I just cannot overstate the importance of the mood of a school, the mood of a classroom. But if you are so inundated with things other than the classroom in your building, then you're not in position to effectuate change in the mood of your school and classrooms. So with that said, let's look at the culture. Let's look at the culture. And the culture, again, I don't use the scholarly definitions for this. I say culture I reduced it to just a simple one word: lifestyle. You can use all the scholarly stuff if you want, but what it boils down to is how we're living in that building, the lifestyle. Does the culture of my school allow my APs to be instructional leaders and coaches? Let me give you that list one more time. Imagine the restaurant. The food is great. The service is great, but the culture in that restaurant It's loud. It's stuff going on. It's folks in there cussing and carrying on. It's folks in there drinking and they're becoming intoxicated. It's just stuff going on. And you said this is not the environment for me to take it down, or this is not the environment for me to bring my date. Right? This is not the environment, Father, for me to bring my daughter. Right? You know, all that kind of stuff. Then because of the food was great, they did what they had to do. The service was great, they did what they had to do. But you said the culture of this place will not allow me to come back. Or the store, same scenario. I don't need to go deep into that. The arena, right? I mean, you could go to the game. Remember that, those of you that really know basketball, remember the malice at the Palace when the Indiana Pacers were playing the Detroit Pistons, and a fan threw a beer down at Ron Artest, Meta Peace, whatever he changed his name to. Ron Artest is the original name, and it became this brawl in the stands. Well, somebody might have been at their first basketball game in their lives and might have said, "I ain't going back to no more games." Now, that didn't represent the rest of the league, but that experience might have been overwhelming, right? It may have been overwhelming, and one may say, I'm never going back. You know, I told you, and you know, like I told y'all the other day, I said when I was in a certain city, which I'm not going to name, and I was eating dinner, and the mouse ran past my foot. It's like a month ago. I'm sitting down eating a late night dinner in a restaurant, and no, he didn't run past my foot. He was sick. He walked past my foot. I'm never going there again. And they probably got the place exterminated, but that freaked me out. I'm never going there again. Right? So you can have those experiences in a place, and now it's like, I can't get back because I had the experience. So as leader, you got to be very much cognizant of what's going on in the environment as it relates to the culture of the school. So the gym, as I said before, but put it in terms of culture, the theater, the home, your place of employment, but most importantly, school and classrooms. I had written a note here: schools cannot perform at optimal levels when the culture is incompatible with the goals, objectives, mission, vision, purpose of the school. Let me read that again. Schools cannot perform at optimal levels when the school is incompatible with the goals, objectives, mission, and vision of the school. So therefore, the culture has got to be a priority. I would dare say your number one priority. You cannot be instructional leader if the culture is toxic, if the culture is incompatible with the objectives that you have set, if the culture is incompatible with the vision, with the mission, with the purpose, with the goals, with your ideas. So you can't be instructional. You could come on and tune into this every week. You can come to my Summer Leadership Academy and you can get fired up over this platform. You can get fired up at the Leadership Academy. You can get fired up reading my books. You can get fired up if you're in one of my sessions or one of my keynotes, but you go back to that school and it's toxic throughout, then you can't be that which you got fired up over, because the environment, the culture won't allow it. You don't have a culture of instructional leadership, and you don't have a culture that's conducive to you being an instructional leader. That matters. That matters. So again, the question on the screen: does the climate and culture of my school allow for my APs to be instructional leaders and coaches? But I could easily change. I could easily adjust that question and ask: does it allow you as principal to be instructional leaders and coaches? The climate and culture matter. So let's go a little bit further with the same question still. Does the climate and culture of my school allow my APs to be instructional leaders? You've heard me say, those of you who are regulars on here, you've heard me say many times that when I visit a school, I want to be able to see the leadership without having to see the leader. Once again, I just want to see the leadership without having to see the leader. right? That's when I walk into a school as a consultant. So on a school day, that's what I'm trying to see this place devoid of having to see the principal. So a lot of times I just ask the principal, can I walk around, that type of thing? Because I don't want to see the leadership with the principal present with me, standing next to me. I want to see the leadership without having the principal next to me. That tells me who the leadership is in the building, right? So, for example, I walk into a school and I just want to gauge the overall culture of the building. I don't need somebody telling me anything. Let me just take it in, right? I want to gauge what is the culture, because as I'm taking in the culture, I'm learning about the leadership, not just the principal. I'm learning about the leadership. So as a consultant, I'm saying the principal, and I know that some principals are not comfortable with this. I'm saying, principal, let the school know I'm here. Send my picture in an email or on your, however you disseminate information. Let them know who I am, so that when they see me, there's no shock. And then let me roam freely. Because see, if I'm roaming with you, if there's a mentality in your building that there's the principal, right? Oh, there's the principal, straighten up, right? Because we know that exists in places. So I don't want to walk with you, and then there's a bunch of people. There's the principal, and that's not confined to the children. That's teachers as well. The principal's coming. All right, let me straighten up, right? No, let me walk. I'm not the principal. I'm not a threat to anybody. Let me walk. And let me take it in. And as I take it in, it gives me data to share with the principal and the APs. So let me just walk the building. I'm going to walk the building, and I want to take it in. I want to gauge, what is the culture of this school? That's what I want to do. But at the same time, I want to gauge, what is the climate of this school? See, like, and when I say that, what's the mood of this school? Like how is the school? Watch this, y'all. How is the school making me feel? How is the school allowing me to feel? See, places can dictate feeling. My wife just walked down. She's going to trip when I say this, but that's all right. I was driving this morning to this bagel shop. Saturdays, I typically get a bagel and an orange juice. They got the fresh squeeze, right? Matter of fact, hit me in the comments if any of you are like this. Like, I want to know if I'm like weird, if I'm an aberration, if I'm strange, or if others do this, but nobody's willing to admit it, right? So I'm driving to this bagel shop, and like one of my old jams came on, right? Melba Moore. What's that song? Man, what's the title of that song, Kim? Huh? Yeah, you stepped into my life, right? So you stepped into my life. My wife had it on the Studio 54 station. So that came on Sirius XM, right? I'm like, oh, now it's like, what time was it? It was like 8:30 this morning. I cranked that thing as loud as it could go, right? And like, it took me back to the old club days. And I'm like, whew, I was in something, y'all, right? So like, I got like overly happy, right? like hit me in the comments if this is you too. Like, am I weird? Am I strange? This is just me. I got you step into my life, and I'm oh so happy. I was like, oh, and then I went like this. I'm listening to, hey, my mother's watching. Ma, chill, ma, right? So I'm listening. I was like, whoa! I went just like that, right? And then so like the song, and I'm like, Melissa said, "You're not weird." Okay, so then next thing I knew, tears was coming out both of my eyes, man. So then like I'm hearing the song. My wife looking at me now, right? So I'm hearing the song, but I said to myself, "You're not crying because of sadness, though. This is tears of joy, baby, because I'm hearing my jam." Like, put in the comment right now, is this you too, or am I just weird? Right? I want to know. Right? So then when I got to the bagel shop, I said, my eyes red. I said, let me let me sit in the car. My wife had a sweater on the seat, so I took the sweater and was wiping my eyes, right, trying to wait for them to get back white, so nobody in the bagel shop say, "Yo, you okay?" Listen, y'all. So what I'm saying is that song put me in a mood. That's my point, man. Sometimes you got to tell the story. Let me see what y'all saying. Me too. All right, yeah. Normal. Yeah, you're not weird. That's awesome. Yeah, see, okay, so I'm not alone with that. All right, Muriel, I see you too. No nonsense. So, okay, you do that. Yeah, because see, like you in your privacy, man. No, the world ain't with you in that moment. It's just you and your jam. Right? So it's like, crank that up. Let me get crazy here. I was yelling, man. Oh my God. Them tears was like, I said, man, I'm crying tears of joy. My wife said, but you cry for everything. So all right, y'all, let me get back, man. Somebody said, all right, get back on point, man. I had a rough week and I need some answers. Right. So here we go. Chrissy said, ditto. Yeah, so all right, so I'm not weird. Y'all do this stuff too. Okay. Like Lisette said, it's like hearing Johnny K just got paid on Friday. Yeah, okay. I got you. There we go. All right, let's go. I worked up a whole sweat. Right. So listen, y'all, I'm walking that building, right? Oh, Mira said people think you nuts in traffic. All right, so I'm not alone with this. I'm not alone. Okay, thank you. I needed that, y'all. Because that's what I do. When I'm alone, man. Nobody there, man. I be thinking I could dance, right? All right, here we go. Let's get serious. It's 5th anniversary, y'all. Give me a break. So the alignment of the school with the school's mission. I just want to take that in, y'all. Like what does somebody said, what does that mean? It means I want to feel the mission without reading it. I want to feel it. I want to gauge it. I want to take it in. Like, oh, I know their mission here. I'm not gonna know it verbatim, but I got a sense of it. You understand what I'm saying? Versus being in some school and you can conclude accurately, ain't no mission here. See, you know that in certain places. Ain't no mission here. Or the alignment of the school with the school's vision. Like, I want to gauge it. Principal, stay back. Let me walk your building for a while. I want to feel your vision. But sometimes you walk into school, no, they ain't got no vision here. It doesn't exist. And if it does, it's just words. It's just words to keep the central office off my back. It's a compliance measure. That's all it is. Or I want to be able to gauge the level of positive energy in the building. See, I don't want the principal with me because I might not get what I really want. People see the principal, they start smiling because the principal's there. No, let me walk and let me see what's going on there, right? The staff morale, the cleanliness of the entire building and outside grounds. Let me just walk in there and see how clean this place is. Not me and the principal, and as we walk, we bending over, picking up stuff off the ground. Nah, let me just walk and see what this is. The overall leadership of the building. So I want to gauge just what in totality now, what is the leadership of this school, right? I want to take it in. What is it? The overall management of the building. There's a difference. Is this building being I'm talking about the facility now. Is this facility being managed satisfactorily or above? Equitable opportunities for students to grow, develop, and soar. So I want to take that in when I go into the classrooms, coupled with high quality instruction. What kind of instruction is happening in this classroom? And in so many places, the quality of instruction, inclusive of equitable opportunities for students to soar, is going to speak volumes about the leadership of that building. It really is, right? So that's my spiel on, does the climate and culture of my school allow for my APs to be instructional leaders? Because if these things in these two sections that I just shared with you are not in place, that AP, and I can even say you, the principal, y'all can't be those instructional leaders because you got all this other stuff on your plate that You walk in the building, whatever time you arrive in the morning, 7, 6:30, some people tell me 6 o'clock, all this stuff, and dismissals at 3, 4, whatever it is. That means you could go from 7:30 to 4, and no part of your day was devoted to instructional leadership at all. See, and that's painful. Let's go. So let me go to this second part. I told you I got 3 questions, and then I'm done. So my second question: do my assistant principals bring an instructional mentality? I want y'all to hear that. Instructional mentality, instructional work ethic, and instructional focus to their leadership. Let's break that down. You know that big 3 that so many assistant principals are relegated to, called bus duty, cafeteria duty, and discipline? Well, there's a lot of people in the world, in terms of leaders and beyond, who think that that's the job of the assistant principal. Like that, it was, those 3 things were created for assistant principals to do. That's their job. And I would say, okay, I could live with that if these folks don't evaluate teachers. If they have nobody they evaluate, then fine, do bus duty all day. Pay them all that money to do bus duty, cafeteria duty, and discipline. Pay them 6-figure salaries to load children on the bus, right? Or receive children coming off the bus. Supervise a cafeteria, which, if done correctly, can supervise itself. Let's never lose sight of that. And discipline. But if the culture's right, there's no need for discipline. So pay these people 6 figures to do this stuff. But yet, nobody serving as instructional leader, instructional coach from the administrative perspective. Doesn't work. And you're overpaying an individual. You're gonna get 6 figures to somebody to do bus duty, cafeteria duty, and discipline. Are you kidding me? You don't even have to go to college for that. Go to college and learn how to load a bus? Go to college to supervise a cafeteria? Go to college to have a kid in your office and you preach a sermon and then give them sign a disciplinary referral and send them back to class or send them home? Come on. We got bigger fish to fry. I told you this morning when I did my opening in Louisiana, they turned back in one school district the desegregation decree. That district's going back to segregated schools by law. But I digress. So I got these bullet points. Let me get into this with this particular question. Let me go back to my comments so I can see y'all's comments. So here, I asked the question: these questions are for you. The reason I don't have them on the screen, I've never done this as a workshop before, but I will. And I don't want people seeing me on Saturday and then saying, we paid you X amount of money and you mean you did that for free on Saturday? Right. So I don't give you all the text for that reason. So you want the text, then invite me to your school and I would gladly give you a full day workshop. Right. So here we go. Do my assistant principals under my stewardship bring an instructional mentality to their leadership? Once again, do my assistant principals under my stewardship bring an instructional mentality to my leadership? Let's talk about that. Whether they bring an instructional mentality, and I'm not talking about the work yet, I'm talking about the thinking. You're not going to know that unless you're engaging them in an instructional conversation. So let me get my mirror up, right? Let me get me out that mirror. There we go. There, no, I don't like that. There we go. So there's my mirror. Hey, principal, how often do you engage your assistant principal in a conversation around pedagogy? I didn't say a conversation around the number of suspensions today. I didn't say a conversation around the number of disciplinary referrals today. I didn't say a conversation around attendance today, around tardiness today, and all the other things we talk about which have relevance. I asked you, how often do you have a conversation with your assistant principal around good pedagogy, instruction? And when you have the conversation, how much of that conversation is led by your assistant principal? And as your assistant principal is engaging in a conversation with you around pedagogy, around instruction, What type of conversation is it? What's being said? What does it say about your assistant principal? And are you able to conclude as a result of the conversations that my assistant principal has an instructional, has a pedagogical mentality as it relates to what happens in a classroom? See, we can talk instructional leadership in terms of the role all we want. But the first step, what's the thinking of the instructional leader? In this case, the AP. Because I'm going to tell you something. I'm a consultant. I try to engage people in instructional conversations. And some assistant principals, I don't even want to quantify it, just some assistant principals I talk to, they are very uncomfortable in this conversation that I'm having right now. Because this is not their lane. This is not their comfort level. So they don't want to have the deep conversation in instructional leadership because in their mind, this is not me. This is not who I am. This is not what I'm permitted to do. And I'm putting emphasis on that word permitted. So if, and as I say to superintendents all the time, and principals, if a principal and previously was an assistant principal and was this full-time disciplinarian, bus duty, cafeteria, and all the other roll up the sleeves dirty work, and now for whatever the reason got the assignment as principal, more than likely they're going to use the AP the way they were used because that's all they know. So in their mind, that's what an AP is. Hopefully they tune into the AP and New Principals Academy and they get a different perspective. But in their mind, this is what the AP does. So now it's just a vicious cycle, as Malcolm would say. Right? It's just a vicious cycle and it doesn't end. It's infinite. I'm saying no. When you get back on Monday, have a conversation with your AP or APs. Y'all just come together and have that talk and have one item on your agenda, pedagogy in the classroom. That's it. When you finish with that, go home. Have that conversation and see how comfortable they are in having a deep conversation on pedagogy in a classroom. And within that conversation, find out what they know about what's happening in the classrooms of the teachers that report to them. Because if you're one who supervises teachers and evaluate teachers, but you don't know what's going on in the classroom until you walk in the classroom, then you can't possibly have the instructional mindset, the instructional mentality, because you really don't have familiarity with the classrooms. But guess what? I bet you do have familiarity with. You got familiarity with the classroom management or lack thereof of that teacher. You know that. And the students that get into trouble, you know that too. You are quite conversant there. But I'm telling you, when you become conversant in the pedagogy, that will take care of those other issues in that room. That matters. You better tell somebody I'm on today. You better tell them I'm on, right? I don't want to use the gang term, even though it has evolved into something that we all feel comfortable. But I ain't going to say, I ain't going to tell you I'm on and we're going to just leave it. I'm on, right? Let somebody know, text somebody, tag somebody, call somebody, hit up them Facebook leadership groups, hit that like button, even if you dislike it, like it any old way. You on here, so you must like something about it. So hit that like button and let them know we here, man. So let me go to my second question. Do my assistant principals under my stewardship, I'm saying these slow so that you can write these. Do my assistant principals under my stewardship bring an instructional leadership work ethic to their leadership? So that first question, I was talking about the mindset. And J.R. Ferguson, I gotta answer you right now. Of course, I'm gonna be in Raleigh in July 15 and 16. So go to principalkafele.com, scroll down on the homepage, click the link, register, and I will be in Raleigh July 15, 16, talking this and more from 9 to 4, both days, lunch break, after the after party, not really party, but after we do it, then we talk casually, informally after the session. Yes, join me in Raleigh, sir. Appreciate you asking. All right, let's get back to the regularly scheduled program, right? So here, your work ethic, y'all. But I don't even want to talk work ethic until I talk mentality? What is your instructional mentality? Right? It's like, I'm going to use this example. I hope my wife can handle it, right? Because she's near me, she's earshot. If I'm around a bunch of men, right, and they want to start having that degrading conversation about women, I can't stay with y'all. And I'm being for real. We can't have this conversation because you're talking about something that I have zero interest in. If anything, you've opened up a door for me to preach you a sermon. But I don't want to have that conversation, right? So it's like when we talk about the role of instructional leader, I don't want to always talk discipline because that is not your primary role if you are one who has a roster of teachers that you supervise. I want to talk instruction. And the instructional conversation is an endless conversation. It's an infinite conversation. But I don't want to talk about your work ethic until we've talked about your mentality. I want to see who you are. So if I'm interviewing you for an assistant principalship to work for me, with me, I want to know your mentality before I'll talk about your work ethic. But then when we get to your work ethic, I want you to fully explain to me what matters most and why, and how I'm going to see you when I see you. Because I'm looking for someone that goes hard on ensuring that the quality of the instruction in the classroom is of a very high quality. That's what I'm looking for. Do my assistant principals under my stewardship bring an instructional leadership work ethic to their leadership? Hey, principals out there, that question's for you. What do you think? If the question makes you uncomfortable, good, it's meant to. So now you know you got to make some adjustments going into next week and more importantly, going into next year, because a lot of y'all can be finished in a matter of weeks now, matter of days now, right? I understand that. But you got to make sure that your APs are thinking instructionally and working instructionally. If you're going to tell me about students and behavioral issues, the conversation is not about students and behavioral issues. The conversation is about the culture of your building. That's the conversation. Let's go to number 3 out of 5. Do I monitor my assistant principals relative to their instructional leadership? Man, I will tell you all this. I'm not going to finish my script today because of all the time I spent in the preliminary talking about Dr. Kunjufu and all the other things I talked about. But I'm going solo again on the 1st of June, so we'll finish. But here's the thing. Let me read it again. Do I monitor my assistant principals relative to their instructional leaderships? In other words, like, do you know what's going on? That's what I'm asking. A lot of times, and if there's any principals I've worked with in terms of coaching, they know this. I'll say to a principal, while we're sitting here in your office or while we're walking this building and the assistant principal's not with us, I say, tell me what your assistant principal is doing right now. I say, tell me what your assistant principal is doing right now. And again, the assistant principal nowhere near us. What am I looking for them to say? Let me share it with you. I'm looking for them to say, I don't know where they are, but I know that they're in the classroom. Or I don't know where they are, but I know that they're conversing with the teacher instructionally. See, that's what I'm looking for, right? Now, are there other things to do? Of course. I don't want to seem naive. Of course, there are other things. Of course, things arise. Of course, the unexpected arises. I get that. But I still want to be able to ask a principal, what is your AP doing right now? And what a beautiful thing when that person says, they're probably coaching a teacher. Why so? Because the principal said, because that's pretty much what they do. They're probably in a classroom observing instruction. That's what they do, right? But that's going to be a reflection of your leadership. See, your leadership. I gotta highlight what Latanya said. It might be Latonya or Latanya, but this segment will help me develop my playbook for my new position, school improvement specialist, assistant principal, school year 25-26. Man, Latanya, Latonya, you AP Butts will call you, right? You bless me with that, right? That's why I do this every Saturday. These agendas. I start working on these like on Wednesdays, and I'm working on them Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning. I put a lot into this, y'all. I put a lot into it. I appreciate that, and we're here for you. You got a lot of resources on this academy with my partners of the Fantastic Four as well. So don't forget about that, and then all the people in the thread, man. So you got a lot of resources here. So as principal, I'm not suggesting you micromanage your assistant principals, but I am expecting that you know what they're doing. And you know that a huge portion of what they're doing is instructional leadership. That's the point. Number 4, have I set standards and expectations for my assistant principals relative to their instructional leadership? So when I became an assistant principal, nothing was really said. It was just do the work, right? It was like, it was said without saying you're the disciplinarian. And that's what I did. But there was no conversation. My short tenure as an assistant principal, never, ever, never, ever, never, ever, one more time, never, ever was there a conversation around instruction between me and the principal. That didn't exist. We did not have that conversation. So there was never a conversation around pedagogy. There was never a conversation around my role in helping a teacher to grow. In fact, there was a conversation around, with the evaluations, don't feel that you have to individualize everything for every teacher. You can kind of standardize it, and whatever language you use for one teacher, you can kind of use that language for the rest of the staff. I'm gonna leave that alone, right? I don't even know why I just said that, but I did, and it's recorded. But it did. It happened, right? So I was not trained to be great as a leader. So, but that's what I got in the building. We ain't talking about my mentor at central office now, that I talked about before. We're talking about in the building. So I'm saying to you, so the AP that's on right now, you don't have the experience I had, or principal with your AP. I'm saying this so that you don't replicate that. Have I set standards and expectations for my assistant principals relative to instructional leadership? You got to keep going back to that. Keep going back to that. Letting that AP know the bar is high. I have standards here. I have expectations here. I expect the teachers that report to you are going to be phenomenal. But then you got to take that finger, principal, see that finger? You got to do one of these. You got to point it at yourself. And you got to hold yourself to the same standards, the same expectations that you're holding your AP. That matters. That matters. You know something, y'all? I'm going to finish this agenda today. I ain't splitting this up. I got to get this in. So last question under this particular section. Do I regularly meet with my assistant principals other than in leadership team meetings toward gauging their progress as instructional leaders? Of course, I'm going to give it to you a second time because I'm not putting it in writing, because then I'll have clients calling me saying, you did that for free and we gave you that check? Do I regularly meet with my assistant principals other than in leadership team meetings toward gauging their progress as instructional leaders? So it's one thing to have the team meeting, and I'll slide this in as a commercial. I happen to know that there are a whole lot of schools out here that the leadership team does not meet regularly. I don't understand that. In the sport of football, the head coach and the assistant coaches meet 7 days per week. 7 days per week. So in other words, they're talking on game day as well as all the other days. You don't think they meeting the day before the big game on Sunday? and then throughout the week. So as much as I love football, at the end of the day, it's just a game. It's a sport, and it has no bearing on what happens in a classroom. So if that leadership, the head coach and his in the NFL case, his assistant coaches, until they have a female head coach, if they're meeting every day, and now we talking about life, like school life, and we're not meeting every day, something wrong with that picture. But Principal Kafele, the day is long. Yeah, so is practice at the football field. And it's even, in some cases, outdoors, right? In the winter. They're meeting every day, y'all. If they're meeting every day, this is just a commercial. It's not my topic today. That's going to be a topic later on in the summer. But if they're meeting every day, how are we meeting every few weeks? They're principals that tell me, I try to get with my APs like maybe twice a month. I hear that. Some of them people might be on right now. They tell me we might meet every maybe twice a month for 45 minutes to an hour. Huh? Everything that transpired, and y'all ain't talking, and you scratching your head talking about Jalil ain't performing, Jamila's not meeting the mark. Of course not. Because y'all ain't talking. That's for another day, y'all. Let's go. So on that same same question on the screen, no, let me change that. I'm confusing myself. Yeah, same question on the screen. I got more questions. I forgot I had 2 pages of questions. I hope y'all taking notes, man. And if not, then rewatch this video and hit the stop, hit the start, and get this in, man. Don't sit here and be entertained, right? And don't just listen and think your mind's gonna remember. You know how the brain works. You don't remember everything you did 15 minutes ago or an hour ago. As powerful as it may have been, it leaves you. So you got to document. So I'm still on, do my assistant principals bring an instructional mentality, instructional work ethic, and instructional focus to their leadership? So then this next question, here we go. I got 5 more under this banner. Do my assistant principals regularly attempt to engage me in instructional leadership discussions? Now, notice, see how I flipped that? See, before I was talking about you reaching out to them, but now in you gauging what you got as a leader on your staff, ask yourself the question, how often have they come to me to engage me in some hard-hitting conversation about instructional leadership and instructional coaching? That will tell you about the instructional, it'll tell you a few things. Number one, it'll tell you about the instructional mentality of your AP. But here's where it might sting. It'll also tell you how they see you as an instructional leader. Because see, you could be functioning as a non-instructional person, and your AP has an instructional mentality and feels that I can't talk to my leader about instruction because his or her head is not there. How about that? See, they may hesitate to talk to you about instruction because you don't come across as an instructional person. You coming across, you talking about facilities all the time, right? You talking about managing the building all the time. You talking about discipline all the time. You talking about all this stuff that I could hire a high school student to do. But you're not engaging your instructional, your assistant principal in instructional conversation. So now that assistant principal is not comfortable coming to you with that conversation because that assistant principal has concluded you're not in that headspace. How about that? How about that? Or let's put it up here, Sheikah. Or I simply can't learn anything from you. See, remember, you could bring in an AP. They appreciate that, JS. You could bring in an AP, and that AP has got more on the ball instructionally than you do. And that AP has concluded that, look, this is just a stepping stone for me. I'm just in here till I can get my principalship. So I gotta learn to adapt to this person. But this person ain't about nothing that I'm about. This person ain't about nothing regarding instruction. But this is where they put me. So I gotta function here. Hey, principal, that's real talk. That's real, right? So keep that in mind. If between between the two of you, and of course we can mean more than one AP, if the conversation is not instruction, there's a problem on one end or the other or both. Let's go. I appreciate all these comments, y'all. The only reason I haven't been commenting because usually I got guests, so it's easy for them to be talking, and I'm looking at the comments, I'm putting them up. But how I'm going to talk and read, right? So that's why. That's why. All right, so let's go. So number 2, do I initiate? Let me get my question back up there, y'all. Do I initiate discussions around instruction with my assistant principal? Right? Is that the one I just read? That's the no. So the first one was, do my assistant principals regularly attempt to engage me in instructional leadership discussions? Now I'm saying, do I initiate discussions around instruction with my assistant principals? Right? So I kind of talked about that before I had the bullet points. So let me go to the next one. Are these, check this out, y'all. Are these discussions normal and organic to our relationship, or are they forced or even anomalies? Whew. Let that resonate for a minute, man. Let that resonate. Hit that share button, hit that retweet, hit that repost. Let somebody know, man. Principal Kafele going in on this 5th anniversary edition. Again, are these instructional discussions with my assistant principals typically, no, wrong question. Are these discussions about instructional leadership normal and organic to our relationship, or are they forced or even anomalies? I shouldn't even be smiling. See, if it's forced, like you like, all right, I gotta make it look good. Let me say something. It's evaluation season. Let me say something. And when I said that, for those of you who are confused, when I said Jalil and Jamila, those are 2 fictitious students that I created like a decade ago or more. And instead of saying boys and girls, kids, all this stuff, I got these 2 names. I'm not using them in any kind of specific way. I can use Jalil, Jamila as valedictorian, salutatorian. I could use them as the opposite extreme and everything in between, right? I just like using real names instead of the kids, the boys and girls, all that kind of stuff, right? Even, people say scholars, I said scholars, but I'd like to give a name to it, right? So, but just think about that question. Are you all having that question, or is it? I mean, that conversation, or is it like forced and all right, let me fit this in, right? Let me get this in to make it look good, to maintain my credibility, or are these organic? This is normal. This is what we do. It matters. Next one. Are these discussions with my assistant principals typically about teaching and learning in the classroom? Or are they more so about detention and suspension data and other negative indicators? So in other words, when you do come together, what y'all talking about? That's what the question is. When the leadership team comes together, what y'all talking about? Right. And I mean, even if you were talking about suspension data, discipline data, all that, I mean, it's relevant. I don't want to mislead anybody. I don't want to be irresponsible. It's a relevant conversation. But is somewhere in that conversation also a conversation around pedagogy and instruction? Right? On the dynamics of a classroom? Everything that has to be occurring in that classroom that increases the probability that young people are going to, in fact, be successful citizens in the world. I spoke at the My Brother's Keeper, New York symposium on Thursday, and I told the young people, I said, everything you're learning in school, all that school knowledge, all that book knowledge, I said it's very important. I was the closing, like they wanted me to give the closing session, not closing keynote, just close out the conference. So I had all the young men come up to the front of the room, the front of the auditorium, and stand up as I talked to them for 15 minutes. So just stand there, listen to what I got to say. And I said, all that education you're receiving is important. I said, but there's another education that you got to get down pat. And that's the education of being able to maneuver through the world. Because I don't care how big your network is, who your friends are, who your family is, none of that. You stand alone at the end of the day. And how will your education, your book knowledge, translate into you living your dream one day? Despite the setbacks, despite the pitfalls, despite the obstacles, despite the roadblocks, will you know how to maneuver beyond formal education schooling? So I'm saying that to say this. All conversations matter. But we got to make sure that the most important conversations are occurring as well. And when I talk to children, talking about work hard in school, those are important conversations. But in my mind, an even more important conversation is, will you know how to maneuver when the teacher is no longer there? Will you know how to maneuver when the principal and the counselor are no longer there? Will you know how to maneuver when your parents cut you loose? See, that's an important education too. Because quite frankly, there's a lot of adults out here that don't know how to maneuver. Don't know how to do it. It's not easy. Just like taking a test, if you didn't study your butt off, it's not easy. Well, if you don't study this world and figure out how to get yours, get your little piece of it, then you could live a very miserable life. And that's always my message to young people when I talk to them. It ain't just them books. Don't let no teacher convince you that if you graduate from this school with straight A's, that the world is yours. Don't let that happen, because it's not. You just graduate with straight A's. Now you got to figure out how to maneuver through the madness, this maze out here, toward getting yours. So now I'm just giving you that to come back to my question. Are these discussions around with my assistant principals typically about teaching and learning in the classroom, or are they more so about detention, suspension data, and other negative indicators? So I'm saying talk about everything, but make sure you talk about what matters most. That matters. Let's go. Last question under this category. Is it possible that my assistant principals could possess instructional mentalities that have been suppressed because this is not who I am as principal of the school or who I am in the company of my assistant principals? Whew! I gotta say woo on the question I wrote myself. Let me share that with you one more time. Is it possible that my assistant principals could possess instructional mentalities that have been suppressed because this is not who I am as principal of the school or who I am in the company of my assistant principals? So in other words, you came in there with that instructional mentality. And this, it's comparable to a previous question I gave you, but I worded this differently. But that principal, maybe once upon a time ago, that principal had an instructional mentality, but the principal burnt out. And it's just not there anymore. Now, that school, XYZ school, that's just the 9-to-5 hustle. It's the highest paid, I'm gonna use this word, gig in town. So you got all your degrees, including your doctorate, but you tired, you worn out, you burnt out. In your mind, these kids are jacked up and will never be successful anyway. These teachers are a mess. In your mind. I'm not saying that this is the reality. So now you just going through the motions. This is my 9-to-5. When the students leave, I leave about 15 minutes after they leave, and then I go on and enjoy my life. Let me tell y'all something. That person exists. And that AP that just came out the classroom who is hungry. In fact, can I use this word, please? Hungry as hell, right? Ready to make things happen. But they say, oh, this dude, they ain't about this no more. This person just shows up. That's it. And it has suppressed that AP. In fact, that AP, if that AP is not careful, can take on some of the characteristics of that principal. Especially if he thinks this is how I can get to that spot by being like him or her. See, principal, you got to go here and you got to ask yourself, who am I? Let me see if I'm going to continue, if I'm going to wait till next month. Let me see how much I got ahead of me. Oh, no, I'm good, y'all. I'm good. I got one more page. Let's go. I'm good. I thought I had a lot more to go. I got one more page. We are good. Stay here, y'all. Stay with me. Let me change that slide. That banner, I mean. Where we at? Here we go. It's the last one, man. We good. I'm proud of myself. Last one. I got 6 questions to accompany this, but let me give you this heading. Last one was do my assistant principals bring? This one is, do I bring an instructional mentality, instructional work ethic, instructional focus to my supervision of my assistant principals? Now check these 6 questions that I generated to support that. Here we go. Number 1, do I expect my assistant principals to be who I am not? I'm going to explain that in a second, but I want to repeat it first. Do I expect my assistant principals to be or to become who I am not? Now, let me explain that. Let's say that I'm principal and my instructional leadership days are behind me. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not that gal anymore. I'm just there. It's my 9-to-5 hustle, as I said before. Do I expect my assistant principals to be who I used to be, who I presently am not? That's the question. And now let me answer the question. How do I expect you to be what I am not modeling for you? Let me say it again. How do I expect you to be who and what I fail to model for you? I'm not saying that AP can't come in and be his or her own person. I'm not saying that. But when you got the leader modeling something different, it becomes a little sensitive for me to go hard on being what I should be when you're not mirroring the same thing. Because now there's a dynamic that could be created where I become threatening to you. I know y'all hear me. Because I'm AP and I'm doing it right. I'm coaching these teachers. I'm holding them accountable. I'm holding them to a high standard in that classroom. But then I look at you, my principal, and that's not who you are. And then the staff is talking. So the staff that you're holding accountable is having conversations with the staff who are coasting, who is just coming in and doing their own thing. And now, well, why are the standards so different between the two? And then the principal might come to you as the AP, watch this, y'all, and you might want to slow it down a little bit, like pump the brakes a little bit. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're making me look bad. But he ain't going to say it that way. Pump the brakes a little bit because the teachers are complaining. Right. So, but what he's really saying is, you making me look bad because you hold them accountable, and I don't even know what they teaching. I don't read their lesson plans. I don't go into their classroom until it's evaluation season. I buy them little trinkets. You know, I get them a little breakfast every now and then. They love me. I get them a little lunch every now and then. They love me. They love me, right? I sound like the current president, don't I? Right? And so they you know so he don't want to mess up his thing because you in here taking care of business, right? So now AP, you got to figure out how to maneuver through that. That's I don't want to say that that's normal, but I do want to say it's real. But AP, if there's an AP on this call right now, first of all, do not reveal yourself on this public platform. That's number one, right? So don't get on here talking about that's my situation. No, you don't tell me that on a public platform. You could tell me that privately in an inbox, right? But don't put that on here. About you speaking to my world, Kafele. My principal sucks. No, you don't put that on here. My son in there laughing. Right. So I'm saying to you, you gotta figure that's a delicate one. Here's why. Because when you're ready to become principal, guess whose recommendation you need? See, you could try that thing where I'm going to other people. Like I know some credible people to get a recommendation from. I'm going to them. Let me be the first to tell you that ain't gonna work. Why not, Principal? I mean, I know Dr. So-and-so, he world renowned. He'll write me something. I mean, the superintendent likes me, he'll write me something. Let me get closer to my camera on this one. Because when they see that your principal didn't write anything, that's the question they got. I see Dr. So-and-so. Wow, he's impressive. He wrote you a nice recommendation. He's well known. Has he ever seen you lead before? See, that ain't gonna work, y'all. You need that principal to write that recommendation. So you got to it's a delicate balance. It's a fine line. But you got to find a way to be effective because you're fighting for these children. But you're working with incompetence or burnt out, one or the other. You got to figure out a way to do what you do, but keep that relationship solid for one singular reason, because you need that person to write that recommendation when you're ready to become that principal. See, that's what you need. See, keep that in mind. All right, let's go, y'all. Let's go. So, number two. This is and all these questions are coming from the vantage point of the principal, by the way. I see my Aunt Kathy Matthews Baggett. I didn't know you was on here. Good to see ya. Listen, am I a good example of an instructional leader for my assistant principal? So now I went beyond the conversation. What about what you model? Are you an example? Because I mean, y'all know instructional leadership is not easy work. I see you, Dr. Carrier. I see you. Because instructional leadership is not easy work. It's probably the hardest aspect of school leadership. It's not easy. So here I'm asking, so am I a good example of an instructional leader for my assistant principal? I mean, because it's one thing to teach. It's one thing to have the conversation that I talked before. But now, imagine you're a full-time coach. Like you coach up your teachers and your assistant principal can sit in the room and observe you doing this work. That's not out of bounds. For you to be in the room doing a coaching session, you're an administrator in the school. It's not confidential between y'all. You can come in the room and watch the principal engage the teacher in a coaching session. You can come with the principal into the room to see him observe, to see how he observes, how he scripts the lesson, how she observes, how she scripts the lesson. You can come with the principal and see how what the follow-up looks like. That's being a good example. That's the modeling. See, that matters. That matters. I don't know why I'm smiling so much, y'all. I think it's because it's this 5th anniversary, man. I'm pumped, y'all. You know, it's like, and I'm getting ready to go into these last ones, but you know, to do something, to develop a labor of love, right? And to stay devoted to it for 262 consecutive sessions, I mean, we're talking 5 years. I was looking at when I was reminiscing, I was looking at the picture of me on the first day because I got all the videos so I can see me, and we were doing a lot of screenshots. I've aged. Like we all have. I've aged. I'm like, man, look, I look younger back then, right? So, I'm proud of myself. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm proud of myself for staying the course and doing this for 5 straight years, 262 consecutive Saturdays, and it ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? I'll be doing this until, I can't do it no more, right? Why would I stop? So let me finish up. Number 3, I think I read this one. Do I bring an instructional mentality to my assistant principal? So I know I've deviated from the other ones and I talked about it. So let me go to the next one. Do I demonstrate an instructional work ethic for my assistant principal? So again, we're talking about the I right now versus the assistant principal. So me. So do I, the principal, demonstrate an instructional work ethic for my assistant principals? Nothing else needs to be said there because I've been in and out of that all day. Next one, does my leadership embody an instructional focus for my assistant principals? So there's something different now. So, we've been talking work ethic. We've been talking about modeling. We've been talking about the example. We've been talking about the actual conversation, the wording. But check this one out. Does my leadership embody, like this is who I am, I personify? Does my leadership embody an instructional focus for my assistant principals? See, that's another layer, right? So in other words, if I could simplify it, does my presence speak instructional leadership? Because see, again, I can go into schools and the leader's presence, it's screaming out disciplinarian. It really is. And then I hear the conversations and, it's just, man, you all about discipline, man. Young lady, you all about discipline. This is who you are. And you've got to make a transition. But you got to focus on the culture of this school, which will allow you to, because you've got to embody this. I want it, like if I could be transparent with you as an educator, like so my teaching days, my principal days, my consulting speaking days now, I've always wanted to, like if someone says, what's inherently, who are you? What are you trying to embody? What are you trying to personify? No one's ever asked me that, but if they did, I asked myself that though. I said, I just want to embody motivation / inspiration. Of course, I want to bring information with it, but I just want what I embody when people hear me, when people listen to me, when people read me, all that kind of stuff. I want them to feel this is the takeaway. And I've said this a million times because I wrote about this in my book, Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It? So this is not something I just came up with today. I wrote that book in 2018. I said, I just want people to say, man, being in that room with Principal Kafele, that man fired me up. That man got me excited about my work. That man reignited my fire because my fire was dimming, right? That's all I want to be. I don't need anything else. And I mean that. That's all I want. That's why, like a lot of things, other aspects of leadership I could be doing, I could be addressing. I'm not in those spaces because that's not important to me. They could do that. So they can compliment me. I can compliment them. For me, I want to give you the right information, but I want to say it in a way. So that's my delivery. That someone says, that man fired me up, man. That man got me believing stuff I ain't believe about myself before I listen to him speak. That's all I want to be. So I'm saying that to say embody. That's what I want to embody. What do you embody? And in this case, does my leadership embody an instructional focus for my assistant principals? That matters. That matters. AP Butts, you blessing me today. You must have known I needed some blessings. Your standards, sir, your standards for school leadership, unmatched. I appreciate that, man. Even if nobody else agrees with you. I appreciate that, man. Man, I worked so hard this week, y'all. Y'all just don't know. I worked so hard, including. Before I go to this last one, can I tell y'all this? With our present state of the economy, or you'll leave it right there, the airlines are eliminating short routes. I live in Jersey City. The airport, the planes, when they're flying into the airport, the planes fly over my house. Like my house shakes, right? Because they have multiple different runways. So when they're on, depending on the wind, so when the wind is in a certain way, they fly directly over my roof. And we hear every flight all day, all night long, right? So it's a particular flight path. So so therefore I'm right by the airport. When they say get to the airport 2 hours in advance, so I don't have to do that because I'm a 15-minute drive from the airport. So I can leave if my flight is at 5, I can leave at like 3:30. I'm good. I can leave at 3:45. I'm still going to make that flight unless there's unbelievable traffic out there, right? So I'm saying that to say this economy and all the I ain't gonna get in. I'm not gonna get political. I just don't want to this late in the game. They're cutting back on short flights. So I told you at the beginning, I'm doing a lot of work in Schenectady, New York, which is by Albany, right? We're doing one-to-one coaching with principals. Hopefully my mentees are on here right now, or we'll see the video. And here's the thing: you fly from Newark to Albany. It's a 30-minute flight, and I'm going back and forth there because I'm spending a lot of time in Schenectady, which is just about a 15-minute drive from the Albany airport. So here's the thing: they eliminated, after all these years, the flight from Newark to Albany. The only way to get to Albany from Newark now is to fly into DC and connect if you fly United. If you fly American, you got to fly to Charlotte. And if you fly Delta, you got to fly to Atlanta to get to Albany, which is a 30-minute flight from Newark, right? So therefore, I had to drive all week. So I drive the 3-hour drive to Schenectady, then drive back, and then drive to Albany, and because I went to MBK, and all that stuff, and that driving wears you out. But that's what it is, right? So I'm tired. So when I see a post like that from Assistant Principal Butts, that's a blessing for me. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. So let me finish up, y'all. Last one. Is my instructional leadership at the core of my leadership? And if it is, and is it, I started, so let me do it again. Is instructional leadership at the core of my leadership, and is it evident to my assistant principals? So in other words, here's the variation from all the other questions. At the end of the day, is instructional leadership what you do? Is that your core responsibility? Is it the main thing you do? Again, don't talk to me about the parents coming in, bringing them back from suspension and all that other stuff. If you do have that mindset, please read my book, The Assistant Principal 50. Read this. Even if you're a principal, just read this, right? I address that. Right? Just read this book. Then go back and watch all 261 sessions of the AP and New Principals Academy. And read other scholars and authors as well, practitioners, and you'll start to change that thinking, because that's a thinking that's not good, right? So with that said, y'all, I've come to my conclusion on this 5th anniversary, week number 262. Should I ask you to give me some emojis? Yeah, why not? I need evaluation. Give me some emojis if this session was beneficial, if it resonated in any way. If you found it to be good, if you found it to be useful, if you can take some of this information and infuse it into your work, give me some emojis, y'all. That's my evaluation. I ain't ashamed to ask my fam out here for an evaluation. And don't flatter me now, y'all. Don't just give me all that fire because you down with me. If I was ineffective, then put one of these on here. If I gave you something that's like, I don't agree with that mess, man, give me one of these. I stayed with you because I wanted to wait to the end to give you a thumbs down, right? So, yeah, Rodney said grand slam. I appreciate that. Let me get my bat. I'm gonna get my bat for myself because I appreciate what y'all saying, but I got this thing. Let me holler at somebody real quick before I sign off. I got this thing in here called self-confidence. I possess that, y'all. And I'm going to tell you, if you're someone that you're still working with that, you grappling with it, you might want to spend this weekend on your own self-confidence, right? But I possess this thing called self-confidence, man. At the end of the day, you might could disrespect me, you might be able to diss me, all that kind of stuff, man. But here's what and other things, but here's what you can't do. Here's what you can't do. You cannot sap me of my confidence in myself, right? You can't sabotage that. You can't undermine that. You can't compromise that. You ain't got that ability. Nobody, right? And I don't want anybody to take that as being cocky or egotistical, because it's not. I'm not cocky. I am not one. I'm not one. I know them people when I see them, and I'm not really feeling them. I'm not egotistic. I don't have an ego. I really don't. I hope it doesn't come across that I do. I'm confident about myself, but I'm not walking around with an ego. I'm about as humble as they come, right? And those of you who have met me out here, you know that. There go my mom. Let me put my mother on the screen, y'all. This is my mother right here. She said, "Congrats, my mom is 90, boy. She be working that technology, boy." Yeah, man. So hey, Principal Kafele, man, you hit it out the park today, baby. Good job. Hey, y'all, you gotta smile sometime, man. And I'm gonna tell you something else. You gotta laugh at yourself sometime. You can't take yourself so serious, right? Let me just holler as I'm signing off, right? Let me get this out the way. You gotta laugh at yourself. And y'all see me do that all the time. You gotta laugh at yourself. You got to bring it down sometime. We all got a silly side in us. Don't feel that because now I'm principal, I have to sleep principal, right? Like I gotta be this image like Joe Clark 24/7, mean mug. I'm principal now. Yeah, don't even think about it, man. So y'all see sometimes we think we got a mean mug all the time, right? Nah, man. I laugh and stuff, man. But people know when it's time for me to get serious, they know I'm gonna be serious. Because it's people out here in America, man. It's people like kind of scared of me. I don't know why. Because they'll say like, yeah, but when Kafele, he gonna keep it real when he get here. I hear that all the time. And I am. That's what I'm gonna do. But when I'm on this Saturday Academy, I take it down. Y'all know that. Because I'm home. Rocking my Hank Aaron. Y'all didn't know that. See, you thought it was a contemporary Atlanta Braves jersey. Man, this thing got a 44 on it, man. Come on, man. It's Hammer and Hank Aaron I'm wearing. It say Aaron on the back. See, so, I'm always repping. Y'all, and that's another piece of me. Some people run away from their blackness. I know that. Certain occupations, certain work they do. Nah, I can't be promoting I'm a speaker. I can't be promoting my blackness. I'm trying to get into these spaces. I almost curse, y'all. Look, y'all. I want to be in those spaces that are not black, but I ain't going to suppress my blackness to get in them. Somebody might have needed to hear that more than anything I said for the past 2 hours. I'm not suppressing my blackness to get in the spaces that ain't black. I'm repping black every week. Y'all know that. Somebody probably said, he ain't wearing the Negro League jersey. No, I ain't wearing the Negro League jersey, but I'm wearing a black man on my back of my shirt. That's Henry Aaron, who played in the Negro Leagues. He played for the Indianapolis Clowns, right? So to love your blackness is not to make you anti anybody. That's where people get it confused. All these non-black people that open doors for me. Come on, man. But when I was walking through them closed doors, I didn't walk in suppressing who I am. I'm a black man. And I wear that on my sleeve. Everybody knows that. And I'm still going to get what I want. So I'm just hollering at somebody out there. Don't suppress who you are to get indoors. Let who you are open the door. Y'all ain't hear that. Y'all ain't hear me. You ain't hear me. I'll give it to you again, though. Don't suppress who you are to get through the door. let who you are open the door. I have to write that down because I ain't never said that in my life. God be dropping stuff on me, baby. God be like, yo, I need you to say this to the people. That's how it works. Hey, y'all, let me close out. Next week, first, I appreciate y'all being here. And those of you that rock with me from 10:55 to 1:20, oh my God. Right, I appreciate you for staying on with me so long, man. I appreciate all the emojis. Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all fam, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Next week, week 263, I got all these Southern guys coming on here next week, man. I got Derek McCoy coming out of North Carolina. These are all principals or folks who were principals. I got Dr. Marcus Scott IV out of Virginia coming on. I got Monty Abner out of Alabama coming on. So it's going to be some accents on here next Saturday, right? So, and then I got my man, Dr. Salome Thomas L, going to make a quick 5-minute, 10-minute cameo because he's got a new book, Meet Them Where They Meet Them. Man, what's the title of it? I always forget the exact title of that book, man. It's over here somewhere. Where is that book? Here it is. That ain't it. Anyway. Meet them where they are and they will succeed. I think that's meet their needs and they will succeed. That's what it is. Meet their needs and they will succeed. He's going to make a cameo next week because the book is brand new and I wrote the foreword. So I guess I should know the exact wording of the title. And then he'll be back in July, I think, for a solo one-on-one, me and Principal L, Salome Thomas L. We're going to do a solo session. So that'll be sometime, I think it's in July or August, it'll be soon. But he'll be on next week at the top just for a few minutes just to promote the book. All right, so make sure that you tune in every Saturday morning, y'all, for the Fantastic Four with Sean Hurd at 10 o'clock, Facebook Live, Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30, Create and Educate, AP and New Principals Academy at 10:55 with myself, and then PDP Podcast, Josh Tovar, Dr. Marty Moreno on Sundays at 7 o'clock. You can just go to MPA Jaguar or go to Josh Tovar, TOVAR, and they'll be right there. Make sure if you don't have this yet, get yourself a copy, right? What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? A lot of what I discussed today is in this book, but there's a lot there's also a lot I discussed today that is not in this book, right? So make sure, let me put this up here what Sheikah said. Every Saturday morning at 10:30, right? Join Dr. Houston and Dr. Taylor, dynamite session. And also reach out to them for your professional development needs. All things leadership, all things MTSS, and so much more, right? Just read all things Avid, right? I mean, they got a lot going on, right? So just reach out to them, Create and Educate. They ain't hard to find, right? So what is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Get yourself a copy if you don't have a copy yet. And then when you register for my School Leadership Institute in July 15 and 16, you get a free copy. So still get yourself a copy and then give your other copy to somebody who could benefit from it, right? Subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel. We got 23,600 subscribers. Incredible. Right, but let's get some new ones on here. 23,600 is nothing to sneeze at. I'm blessed by that, and I never tell y'all, but I got to tell you, I have another channel called Principal Kafele Speaks. Check that out sometime. It's on YouTube. It's got a lot of my keynotes and stuff like that. And then I now take the monologue and I put it on a separate reel. But I also post it to Principal Kafele Speaks, and then I share it over to the AP and New Principals Academy. So check that out as well. And then finally, folks, your diet, your exercise, and your virus precautions. I say that every week. Been saying it since we began. Make sure that you take care of yourselves. Eat right. And I tell you all the time, I'm not perfect when it comes to eating. I'm not. I live on the road. How can I be perfect living on the road, right? It's not possible. I'm not perfect with the exercise. It's not possible. But I do the best I can. I'm very deliberate. Right. But when I was a little younger, I had the heart attack 10 years ago. So back 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, I can get to a hotel at 2 o'clock in the morning and still hit the treadmill for 20 minutes. I don't do that anymore. I'm too old for that. I just can't. I don't have the discipline to do that anymore because I won't have energy to speak the next day. So I do the best I can. But now that I'm home, I'll be out there today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and then I'm back on the road Wednesday, right? So whatever you got to do it and be as consistent as you can. With that said, folks, I appreciate you. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back all the way. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I will see you next Saturday for week 263 at 10:55 Eastern Time. Have a great week.